So the two best months to be a Jaguars fan is the month of September and the month of April. September because we have a brand new football season, and also the Jaguars have not been statistically eliminated from the playoffs yet. And April because we always have a top draft pick, excluding 2018. That was an anomaly. But otherwise, the Jaguars always have a top draft pick, and we can always look forward to having one of the best prospects coming out of college. Now having the number one overall pick for the second consecutive year, I'm going to be talking about two premium edge rushers in this video today and doing a little bit of a player comparison. And then at the very end, I'll talk about who I would take if I was the Jaguars number one overall between these two players. This is just the first of many draft videos I'll be doing for the Jaguars leading up to the draft. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Aidan Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeaux, two very highly touted prospects, both coming out of college as well. So let's actually get into today's video. Now, the first player I'm going to be talking about is with edge rusher out of Michigan, Aidan Hutchinson, who's a 6'5", 265-pound Heisman finalist coming out of the Big Ten as well. And three things that I absolutely love about Aidan Hutchinson is one, his leadership qualities on and off the field, two, his high motor, and three, his technique. The first thing I have to say about Aidan Hutchinson is his leadership qualities on and off the field. I've seen it time and time again. When he's on the field, he's very vocal. He's getting guys in position and lined up and ready to go. Even though he's not the middle linebacker, which is typically something that's kind of assigned to a middle linebacker, he's very, very vocal and always getting his players in his team in position for every single snap, which is something that you love to see. But also, he reminds me very much of a guy like Trevor Lawrence because a lot of guys rally around him, and he also seems like just a very vocal leader who a lot of guys just kind of cling to as well. Someone you definitely want to have in your locker room, and someone who seems like he's got a very good head on his shoulders, very respectable guy. That goes without saying, and I think that is a very good trait that you want to have, especially with the number one overall pick in Aidan Hutchinson. That, I think, is an amazing thing about him. Now let me go on to the second thing about Aidan. The second thing I love about Aidan Hutchinson is his high motor, high energy type of guy. I've seen consistently time and time again, whenever he's setting the edge or whenever he's getting after the quarterback, he's consistently going 110 miles an hour. It does not matter if the play is going from the opposite direction of him. If he's lined up on the left side of the offensive line and the play is going right and it's a swing play or whatever the play may be, he's consistently going 110 miles an hour, always going after the play and consistently trying to make a play, even if the play is nowhere near him. That is something you want to see out of a guy. And even though I never really saw Michigan drop him back into coverage like that, which I don't think would really play to his strengths considering the type of edge rusher that he is, I think that is a great quality that you want to see out of a guy, because obviously with defensive linemen, you're always subbing guys in and out, and the Jaguars have a lot of depth on the defensive line as well. With Aidan Hutchinson, that's something I love to see, especially with the guy with the number one overall pick potentially. The high motor is definitely another key factor for me. And the last thing I truly love about Aidan Hutchinson is his technique. Hand technique, footwork, you name it. This guy is very fundamentally sound. I've seen it time and time again from him. And yes, he did play very bad versus the University of Georgia in the Peach Bowl when Michigan got absolutely slacked in that game. Jamari Sawyer just basically locked him up the entire time on the defensive end. But the problem is, it wasn't just Aidan Hutchinson, it was just about everybody on that Michigan defense as well. And if you're going to keep that same energy with Aidan Hutchinson in that game versus Georgia, go back and watch the film from Kayvon Thibodeaux versus Utah. In both of those games, he did not have a great game at all. So let's just keep this a little bit fair. Aidan Hutchinson, technique-wise, like I said, very fundamentally sound, always filling the run gaps, always staying in position to make a play. He's always putting himself in a position to make the play, and he's very good about bending his body and getting his feet in position to get a play off the edge, and sometimes running these stunt routes on the defensive edge to come through the B gap, because sometimes he'll be lined up and then come in through the B gap. Great player in terms of technique-wise, and my thing with Aidan Hutchinson is I think coming out of the gate, he's going to be the most impactful defensive edge rusher in this draft because of the fact that he is so fundamentally sound, and I don't think it will be as much of an adjustment for a guy like Aidan Hutchinson. Now let's talk about a little bit about Aidan Hutchinson and some of his production. Last season, as a Heisman finalist at the University of Michigan, Aidan Hutchinson had 62 total tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 14 sacks. I mean, he was just a freak of nature on the defensive edge, At the combine, he ran a 4.7 40, a 36-inch vertical, had a 117-inch broad jump, 4.15 shuttle, and a 6'3" cone drill as well. Now, we all know that the combine is not the end-all be-all. We see freaks of nature come out with DK Metcalf who absolutely obliterate the combine and they're combine freaks, but then they fall in the draft. Or we see guys who have a horrible combine, aka Tom Brady, and end up being all-time greats. There's no telling in between. It's all based on evaluation, team needs, and also production in college as well, and where you think a guy can fit into your system. Aidan Hutchinson, love the guy, love the character, and I love the production he's had on the field. Let's talk about Kayvon Thibodeaux now. Now moving on to edge rusher out of Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeaux, who's a 6'5", 258-pound defensive edge rusher out of the University of Oregon, dominated the Pac-12. In 3 seasons at Oregon, he had 126 tackles, 35.5 tackles for loss, 19 sacks, and in 2021 had 49 total tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 7 sacks. Absolutely freak of nature. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that this video, but he is. He is a physical specimen. Maybe that's a better word. Let's just go with that for now. Kayvon Thibodeaux, I've noticed time and time again from watching his film in the Pac-12, especially in 2021, is that he's bigger and stronger than every single offensive lineman that he went up against, and he was able to use that athleticism to his advantage, which is one of the 3 things that I love about Kayvon Thibodeaux. 1, the athleticism. 2, the confidence he has in himself. And 3, the potential of Kayvon Thibodeaux. Thibodeaux ran a 4.58 at the 40, 27 bench reps at the 225 bench reps, 29-inch vertical, and a 4.3 shuttle as well. He is a physical specimen. That's exactly what he is, and he dominates off the edge of the line. Now, granted, he's not the best when it comes to his bending technique, especially getting around a tackle. And you know what? Sometimes his athleticism works to his disadvantage because a lot of times he might get out of assignments as well. Sometimes he doesn't quite close the gap or set the edge exactly how he needs to be. Sometimes he's trying too hard to make a play instead of actually filling his assignment and setting an edge or doing something like that. That's something I've definitely noticed a lot. But also, he doesn't have the same kind of motor that a guy like Aidan Hutchinson does. You know, a lot of times I might see him jog on a play, or sometimes he might kind of give up halfway through if he doesn't quite get to the quarterback as well. And I've also seen Oregon use Kayvon Thibodeaux and drop him back into coverage on a multitude of occasions. I've seen the Jaguars do it with Josh Allen plenty. I've seen them do it with Hutchison. I don't love it. I want Kayvon Thibodeaux just to be a straight downhill power rusher. That's just where I'm at with it. The second thing I like about Kayvon Thibodeaux is his confidence, which can also be a con for him if you really look at it in both sides of it. His confidence, this is something Kayvon Thibodeaux just said just a couple of days ago. The most ridiculous thing I've heard is that I'm not the best player in this draft. Watch the film with the numbers and what I can do as far as my ability. I have confidence in what I can do. And you know what? I love that confidence, but at the end of the day, that has been a stigma, I think, that's been held against Kayvon and why he's falling a little bit in these draft boards as well. I don't know if he's going to go top 5. He might be anywhere from that 5 to 8 range, or he could be number 1. We'll have to see. I like the confidence, and I do think that he's got a good sense of his ability and what he's able to do and what he can do in the NFL. But you know what? That can also be held against him, so I get it. And the last thing I like about Kayvon Thibodeaux is his potential. Like I said, a 6'5", 258-pound physical specimen coming off the edge. I haven't seen anyone like him since Clowney or Myles Garrett when I just talk about his strength and physicality. And that could be related to the fact that the Pac-12 and the offensive linemen just weren't strong and big enough to handle a guy like Kayvon Thibodeaux. I haven't seen him in that upper echelon yet. But here's how I view Kayvon Thibodeaux and Aidan Hutchinson when I compare them side to side. I think Thibodeaux has a way higher ceiling than a guy like Aidan Hutchinson. If you just talk about absolute brute potential, I think Kayvon has a higher ceiling but a much lower floor. Kayvon could come into this league and be a straight bust, and that's just how I view it. I think Aidan Hutchinson, regardless of any situation he goes to, is going to be a very solid and productive player no matter what. He has a much higher floor but a much lower ceiling than a guy like Kayvon Thibodeaux. That's just my belief on it. I think Aidan Hutchinson has the potential to be a tier 2 type of defensive edge. I don't know if he gets to that number 1 with guys like Myles Garrett, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, and the Watt brothers. But then you get down to the tier 2 like Everson Griffin, and then guys like Brian Burns. That's kind of who I would throw into that tier 2 of edge rushers. Maybe even Josh Allen. I think Aidan Hutchinson has that kind of potential. I think Thibodeaux's potential is in that upper echelon of guys, and that's just where I'm at when I view them. That's just my personal belief on it. If I had to pick between the 2 edge rushers, I'm going Aidan Hutchinson strictly based off leadership qualities qualities, obviously on-field production, but also I think he's the safer pick. Now, if you or the Jaguars believe that Doug Peterson and Mike Caldwell truly can develop Kayvon Thibodeaux to maximize his potential and to be the edge rusher that you believe he can be, go Kayvon Thibodeaux. Because like I said, if you think you have the higher potential in him and you can get more out of him, I would go Thibodeaux any day of the week in that regards. But as of right now, I would still go Aidan Hutchinson strictly based off the fact that I think that he's going to be a terrific leader in the locker room, off the field, and on the field as well, being very vocal and someone that a lot of guys can trust. I do see the on-field production there, and I do think that he's going to be amazing right out of the gate as he continues to learn the NFL game as well, even though he doesn't have the athleticism of a guy like Kayvon Thibodeaux. Hutchinson, I think, will be the number 1 overall pick as of right now. And between the two guys, I really like Aidan Hutchinson just a little bit more. And if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me and the channel out tremendously. And if you guys want to see more NBA and, of course, Jacksonville Jaguars content, consider hitting that subscribe bell for me here today. But Brett James, aka BJ, I'm out, y'all. Go Jags, baby. Peace!